Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yeah. Welcome to my page, Timo Starboy Reality Talk TV. I greet you at your location time. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Yeah. For those people who have already sleeping, good night. Yeah. So we are streaming on our page, Timo Starboy Channel Blog, and on YouTube, Timo Starboy Reality Talk TV. Please join us. So I greet you once again. Yeah, happy new week. Yeah. So we are about to start. I want you to listen to this Ariwola, Chief. They say Chief Justice. I don't know whether he's a really Chief Justice because the way the man is talking is like this judiciary system is downfall. You know, is going down. Is going down over democracy in Nigeria. That is the way we see it. Don't let it shock you, because it doesn't shock me a bit. I know the way of their life. I know it's a wuru way. They are not clean hand. So, and that is where we find ourselves, because all this animal kingdom, animal ruling, and I don't think, because these people, politicians, even APC, PDP, whatever they call themselves, they are the same. Because I don't see the reason why they should not change that constitution. When they cannot amend the constitution and they are still ruling on it, and they are letting the INEC Yakud Mahmood to be messing up, without sanctioning the guy, without putting the guy in the cage where he belongs, and they are still following the old things. I don't know what crazy things these people they are ruling on. What is happening there? What is happening? Can't you change what you are complaining about, that it is not favor the humanity? It is not good for human society. There's nobody above the law. That is it. Nobody on this earth, on this wide world, nobody above the law. Either you are president, or you are prime minister, or whatever, or you are king. You are not above the law. The law is there. It's written in a black and white. Why can't you obey the law? We are talking to our leaders, our rulers in Africa. They don't obey the law, and they are making the law and they are breaking it. They are the one making it and they are the one breaking it. You don't tired also. What kind of a ruling is this? What kind of a governor is this? And we are saying to you people, if you are tired, go and reside, go and put yourself somewhere. You can retire yourself. You can sign out. Nobody is forcing you. So let the people that they have a capacity to take over the seat, the young fresh blood. That is what we are calling for. Young fresh blood with a fresh brain. Intellectual people. Is it do or die? So allow me to play you this video. Ariwola, it say Justice Ariwola. So what is about to tell you guys, you will hear by yourself. Let's listen, because this guy, is not showing it's not showing the sign of changing. He doesn't want to change from his attitude. This wuru way, Anyway, don't let me talk too much. Let me play the video, so for you to understand what I'm talking about here. Okay. This is the
guy. On the Supreme Court.
You can see the guy here.
And jurisprudence of the right to a fair hearing in Nigeria.
I took the video from
the
somebody.
Supreme Court.
So
I guess my brother and friend Yusuf Ali chose me to come and assist here, because I said God is on the chair. I'm not the chairman.
Please, let's listen to him. His voice is what we have to listen to.
It is my court.
What he's talking about.
I'm privileged.
Yeah, I don't know.
To serve as one of the judicial officers. relates to jurisprudence of the right to fair hearing. As we all know, the Supreme Court in Nigeria, and if you like, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, is the apex court.
The Supreme Court in Nigeria, the Supreme Court of Nigeria. This man don't confuse.
So that
he don't confuse
whatever
totally.
Decision is given.
He doesn't know what he's talking about himself.
Appeal only lies.
Does not know what he's talking about.
And none of us seated here
has
been before God himself. No further appeal. People have chosen to come back before the same court, which cannot be by way of appeal.
The man is compromised.
They're seeking to appeal.
Totally compromised.
To the court. People shouldn't be surprised to have His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to find time to grace this occasion, this early morning of a weekday. This will tell you how important, how greatly appreciated Malam Yusuf Ali is. His Excellency, I learned, had to change a couple of the government's program of today, all to be present and grace this occasion.
Even the fools, they are clapping.
Written by many people to make money.
The fools, they don't know what they are hearing. They are still clapping.
For legacies. To
don't tire me. Oh.
Some books, yes, could be books to be used by professionals. People working in the field of law. But when you see people that are here today to present the book, including, and most importantly, Chief Wole Olanipekun, SAN, Dr. Wale Babalakin, SAN, great men in this field, and you see professors of law, and of course you have the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin, a professor of jurisprudence himself, not only seated here, but must have had great contributions to what the book contains. You have no reason to regret being here, but like the people to present the books will plead with you, just endeavor to go home with one or two or copies of this book. Your Excellency, I once again welcome you, and we're happy you gracing this occasion of your friend. A lot of I agree with this one.
So that is it. Let me play you another one. This is Obi, Peter Obi. So let's listen to him. You say something tangible here. So let's listen, because the sink of the country is going down. So they want to rescue it. They are calling for emergency, ambulance. So let's listen to him.
Because if you look at those who fought for our independence and everything,
this is the video.
They were in different political party formations and was able to show that first democratic process in Nigeria, which is what we are all clamoring that we need to go back to now, where we have very enterprising, progressive.
This is Obi, Peter Obi, LP candidate president.
Critical stakeholder, what is your advice to Inter-Party Advisory Council IPAC to ensure democracy growth in Nigeria?
Well, as it is today, my advice is that the parties come together and work for the people. You could see today there's a gradual erosion of the tenets of democracy. Our political compass is heading in the wrong direction. So there's a need for the parties to come together to be able to rescue the situation as it is today.
Okay, sir. So the final question is, so what advice do you have for Nigerians, especially the electorate?
Well, for Nigerians, well, which is for all of us, we need to take issue of governance very serious. We need to ensure that only those who are competent, who have the capacity, who have the integrity to be able to serve faithfully and use the resources of the nation effectively for production are allowed into office and supported. And we should resist where things are going wrong. This question, which is the issue of the parties coming together, that is impossible. You're talking about coming together for election purpose. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about coming together for good governance and making sure that the people are well governed and well served. That's two different things. When it is for election purpose, it is self-benefiting or transactional. But if it is for good governance, we can all come together and work together. And if we look at what President Obasanjo is talking about, I don't think he's talking against saying that democracy is not what we should adopt. No, he's talking about the applicability. Democracy, as is being practiced in the Western world, does not have universal acceptability and applicability. You have to look at what suits you. For example, if you look at democracy in America, where we even copy this presidential system of government, there's so many things that we've abandoned.
They copy, but they don't do it.
President of America, you can't just.
Nigeria is a copy.
I've never heard in America that
they never hat on it. They never do any jack.
You can't just buy cars anyhow. I have never heard you can't buy cars for first lady anyhow. There's no. In fact, in America, there's no.
Buy a car for first lady.
It exists in name, and for the
buying yacht for
not just
for fantasy.
Created with.
And the people are hungry in the country.
Beyond critical areas of development.
People are hungry. People are dying.
Entertain people. In America, if the president chooses
they want to be enjoying.
To entertain guests, you pay for the food. If he chooses to have
life is not balanced, so
he'll pay for it. So he can decide how my wife is going to have this. We're going to have this type of fish from Japan. At the end of the month, you have to pay for it. So these things don't happen. You don't have renovations of different houses for the president. You know, if the president of America goes to New York today, he stays in hotel.
Yeah.
I've accompanied the president to trip in the past. A hotel is the president of America was staying in a hotel. So these are issues. So we must look at what suits us. Again, look at how we can manage our own expense and everything. So what Obasanjo is saying that we must not adopt this and even adopt it wrongly as we are doing it today. The last one was an issue of
Moving towards one party.
How can we salvage that? That is a disaster.
Totally disaster.
Again, by the same.
Totally disaster over
not just
democracy.
Political parties, but civil society.
Nigeria judiciary is a disaster over democracy.
Because it's dangerous.
We are suffering. They are suffering in Nigeria. No food to eat. No electricity. No school to attend to. No good facility. And some people, they are buying luxurious cars, luxurious house, luxurious yarn for their enjoyment.
is vice.
And they are saying you should tight your
And
belt.
secondly, sir,
What kind of a belt are you want to tight? Whereby they don't tie their own.
Now. See, this is what I'm saying. We should all come together. Even you as a journalist should look beyond the election. People are dying of hunger. And we're talking about the election. What happens in the next election?
I wonder.
Publicly, Peter Obi is not desperate to be Nigerian president and desperate to see Nigeria work. Your children are suffering.
Exactly.
So don't ask me that type of question, please. I'm begging you. Let's talk about how to save the country. If the country is working, I mustn't be president. Let the country work for our future.
okay,
I want the children of here to be looked after.
okay, the next one.
Please let me play you this Falana, Femi Falana interview with Seun Okinbaloye. So this one is another one. We are just trying to learn from these videos that I'm playing to you so that you can know what is going on in Nigeria. You can know all these rulers, their dubious way, the way they are driving the country, where they are driving it to. So we are enlightening you people. We are just sharing the light to you people to know. For those people that they don't know anything, they are still grumbling. They are still saying that Nigeria will better. They say Nigeria will better. Let's pray for Nigeria. Which prayer you want to pray for Nigeria? The prayer that God will not answer. The prayer that it will not reach God. Because God's hand is not in Nigeria. You know, it's totally far away. God have laid the hand off from Nigeria. He said, do it on your own way. You know, it's just like a Sodom and Gomorrah. Everybody is just, if I come in, I do my thing. You know, there's no rule of law again. They are not obeying the rule of law. Our rulers, our politicians, they are not obeying the rule of law. And you want God to intervene. You want God to be blessing you. When you are a sinner, you are continuing sin, you know, you don't want to repent. And you are saying that God should answer to your prayer. How come? It can never be. Because God only listens to people that are ready to repent. And in as much as you are still a sinner, and you are continuing your sin, you know, your sin doing, you know, God will never intervene in your problem. That is the fact. So if you are just praying, you are wasting your prayer, you are wasting your time. It is not prayer will solve this matter. It is by you to repent and say to God, I have repented, please forgive my sin. And God will do so. So simple arithmetic, simple logic. This is the simplest logic and the simplest common sense. So we shouldn't waste our time on saying that we should pray for Nigeria. For what? Nigeria is not ready to pray for himself. He's not ready to rescue himself. The judiciary system is collapsed over democracy. The people that you snatch the democracy from, they are not happy. The way you are doing it, the way you are treating the democracy, they are not happy. You know, from American, they are not happy with you guys. You are doing democracy like a shit, like you are rubbing it on the mud, and you expect them to happy. They are not happy with you. So stop praying unnecessary praying. You know, stop wasting your time. You are just praying for nothing. You are losing it. You are losing it. So let me play you this video for the last our program here. So and we go on. Okay, here is it. I think this is right. Okay, is it?
Tribunal sacking Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State. In his judgment, the appeal court agreed with the judgment of the tribunal, ruling that the fielding of Abba Yusuf was in breach of the electoral law as he was not qualified to contest that election. 2 months ago, the tribunal deducted 165,663 votes from Governor Yusuf's total votes as invalid, stating that the affected ballot papers were not stamped or signed and therefore declared them invalid. Of course, there have been a series of reactions to these judgments. It's coming from lawyers, members of the civil society, and others. Don't forget, there was a judgment of the Court of Appeal in respect of Zamfara, which also says that the election is inconclusive in Zamfara. The tribunal, the Court of Appeal judgment in the case of Bauchi State, which affirms the election of Governor Muhammad in Bauchi State, and a few other judgments that have come from the court. For civil society organizations, lawyers, National Assembly lawmakers have started a conversation on electoral reforms in Lagos. The retreat held on Friday and Saturday. And amidst all of that, President Bola Tinubu has been dragged to court over the appointment of the resident electoral commissioners for the Independent National Electoral Commission.
They will continue dragging them to court because they are criminals.
Various groups under the aegis of the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP budget and 34 concerned Nigerians filed the lawsuit against President Tinubu at the Federal High Court in Abuja on Friday.
Sorry, guys.
Tonight, I'm being joined by a senior advocate of Nigeria and rights activist, Mr. Femi Falana, to share his perspectives on some of these fundamental, major issues in the land. Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Falana, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
I'd like to begin by getting your views on the Court of Appeal judgment. If you look at the judgment in Lagos, for example, and you compare with the judgment in Plateau State, it's a case of different strokes for different folks, and there are those who will draw an inference to say they're fundamentally a similar scenario playing out, but the judgments were not the same. How do you appraise some of the judgments coming out of the court based on the election of 2023?
Sorry, guys.
Well, in the first place, Sean,
Sorry, guys.
I have repeatedly made clear, the stakeholders should go back to the drawing table so that the involvement of judges in our elections can be completely eliminated. Nigeria is the only country in the world today where results of elections are determined by judges. It shouldn't be so. We have just witnessed in Liberia, a country that Nigeria assisted to restore political stability. We just witnessed an election there. Recently, we witnessed an election, a successful election in Sierra Leone. Again, another country assisted by Nigeria to have law and order restored. So if these countries can organize elections, why are we asking judges to determine the result of our elections with respect to the decisions of the Court of Appeal? That is not the end of the road. All those who are dissatisfied will have to go to the Supreme Court. But if you look at what happened in Lagos, why is different from Plateau, is that you are being told in the case of Plateau, there was a judgment of the High Court to the effect that primaries have to be conducted. The judgment, as usual, was dishonored, disregarded, disobeyed, and elections went on. I think the last time I can recall that the Supreme Court berated the Nigerian political class to learn to comply with the doctrine of least spending was the case of Mr. Peter Obi and INEC. When in 2007, in spite of the case of Mr. Peter Obi that was pending the High Court, INEC went and proceeded to hold the election. The Supreme Court made the point that it was a risk on the part of INEC to engage in a wasteful exercise by conducting that election while the case of Mr. Peter Obi was pending. Now, if we are being told here that the court ordered the primaries be held and the primaries were not held, and the election took place on the basis of the primaries that were not held, there are problems. I do hope that the Supreme Court will make a definitive pronouncement on this. Again, it's different from Kano, where you are being told now that voters can be punished. It's a very dangerous judicial policy to punish sanctioned voters for the mistake of electoral officer. We are being told here that 165,000 votes are wasted. They are invalid because some electoral officers refused or committed an error by not stamping them. How does that affect the validity of the election? If you recall again the case of Yaradua, Buhari and Yaradua, even the election material, the ballot papers were not serialized, they were not marked, but the Supreme Court came to the conclusion that the petitioner, General Buhari on that occasion, did not impeach the integrity of the election. So I do hope that this time around the Supreme Court will again resolve this needless controversy surrounding the stamping of ballot paper by INEC officials who have not been recommended for any discipline or any sanction.
Nigeria
this is why these judgments will have to be reviewed.
I'd like to ask, the Electoral Law 2022 was amended in respect of pre-election matters and how much of effect it can have on the outcome of an election. And that those who believe that in Plateau State, there was a pre-election matter in this case. In Lagos, there's an element of that also which played out. And perhaps how much of merit that section in the Electoral Act has in the judgments of the Honorable Justices of the Court of Appeal in some of the judgments that have been executed so far.
Well, again, there is some inconsistency here as to whether pre-election cases should be carried over and determined after the conduct of election. I have always criticized that. And my position is that all pre-election matters be concluded before election, general election, and all election petitions challenging the conduct of elections be concluded before the inauguration of incoming government. But we have an incongruous situation whereby pre-election matters are carried over and taken after the election. It amounts to a waste if the elections are set aside on the basis of pre-election matter. And it shouldn't be so. And this is the kind of problems we are trying to encounter now. Again, as I said, the ball is now in the court of the Supreme Court.
Interestingly, I will come to that deliberation which PLAC, as an organization, Clement Wanko and his friends have put together to ensure that there is a review of the electoral law in respect of some of the shenanigans that happen within the political parties going into an election that makes a mockery of our election and some of the discrepancy and some of the unbelievable behaviors of the politicians in our election in broad daylight and how they subvert the rule of law in our elections. And I'd like you to touch on those things that you discussed at that meeting on Friday and Saturday, and how we can jumpstart the process of fixing the electoral law. But it just looks to me, Mr. Falana, that politicians are already looking at the vacuum and at the vulnerability of our electoral law to subvert our election. Don't you think?
No, the election, the laws are there. But we have a political culture that allows members of the ruling class, and it's not limited to election. We have a culture, a political culture, that allows members of the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, to ignore our laws, to ignore court orders, and they are the system. And that is why you're having these problems. The law is very clear on internal democracy, but you have people who call themselves chieftains of political parties who make a mockery of internal democracy in the party, whereas you are supposed to have consensus candidates. They impose candidates and they call them consensus candidates. They subvert the electoral process by talking of indirect primaries, instead of allowing members of the political party to participate in direct primaries. These are some of the issues we discussed on Friday, Saturday. And we can't go on like this. Now, once you have dealt with the question of the political culture, whereby all violators of the law, no matter how highly placed, will be brought to book. And that is what is going on in America now. President Trump, in all his majesty, in all his powers, is being arraigned. He's facing 4 cases, 4 criminal cases. One of them or 2 of them has to do with electoral fraud and insurrection. But here, you just had an insurrection in Rivers State. Nobody is talking of those who conveyed the House of Assembly in the night, those who set fire on the House of Assembly. Nobody is talking about that. But in the U.S., President Trump is standing trial for the insurrection, the attack on Capitol on 6th of January. 2021.
You can see how your judiciary system is wasted.
And that is why we are insisting.
It's a waste.
That we must now set up the Electoral Offences Commission, Electoral Offences
no rule of law,
to try all those who violate the provisions of the Electoral Act before and during the election and even after the election by manipulating election results. But once you don't do this, you witness, as we just witnessed 2 weeks ago, the shameful elections that took place in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo, whereby in 3 states, 92,000 police personnel, 22,500 civil defense personnel,
voting buyer,
FRSC, SSS, EFCC, and the rest of them.
They are useless.
All together numbering about 140,000 security personnel to manage election.
All useless officers.
Manage election in 3 states. At the end of the day, somebody was thrown to the river in Bayelsa. 4 people were killed in Kogi State. There was snatching of ballot boxes. Money was, the EFCC confiscated about 11 million naira. But at the end
what
of
a shame.
Are we sure?
What a shame.
That these criminal elements are going to be tried? So, again, we agreed on that. 3, we agree that the movement of judges, particularly sitting judges, should be completely eliminated. We are suggesting that retired judges, we have a pool of retired judges who should constitute election petition tribunal and appellate chambers so that we can allow the regular courts to continue to handle cases of other citizens who have nothing to do with politics. Now, once you can do that, now we are not going to have this problem of congestion of cases in the regular court. Again, we are suggesting that INEC, the owner should be on INEC to prove
that credible elections have been conducted. The onus should not be on petitioner the petitioners who have no access to election material. Again, we suggested once an election is concluded, in no less than 7 days, all the election materials must be uploaded and
exactly. That's the way.
Transmitted to the website.
That's the way it should be.
So that whoever wants to file an
that's
election
the way it's supposed to be.
do so without.
But they have turned it upside down.
Current,
useless
the
people.
other point is that if you are going to file petition, again we suggested and we agree that we shouldn't have a situation where all those who contested an election will file election petition. In other words, this battle, the legal battle, should be between the winner of the election or the candidate declared by the INEC and the runner-up. So what is the business of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, or even 10, candidate filing election petition? So we have this suggestion. But the other one, which is very important, is that all pre-election cases be conducted before election, be concluded, and all post-election, all election petitions be concluded, be tried by courts and concluded before the inauguration of incoming government.
That's the way it should be.
Internal democracy must now be promoted in the parties.
But Ariwola, Justice Ariwola will not see this one.
The governors of states say that they are leaders of political parties is democratic. It's not part of our law. Only the elected officials of political parties are leaders of the parties. The president and governors are members of political parties. So the question of going to hold a meeting of political party in the presidential villa or in the state house in any state is illegal, because the presidential villa is for all Nigerians, for all political parties. So the ruling party cannot hold political party meetings in the villa. Ditto for the state. So that once the president and governor are made to realize that they are members of political parties and not leaders of these political parties, imposing candidates on the parties, we then begin to talk of democracy and the use of money. We have also suggested that the National Assembly should stipulate what amount candidates can pay by way of nomination fee. So you don't have a situation where a political party will ask candidates, go and pay 100 million naira, go and pay 50 million naira, and so on and so forth. So we dwelt on many areas of the Electoral Act now where we feel that there are some lacunae that will have to be addressed. But as most important one is the political culture. Today, the worst elections in Africa are conducted in the local governments by state electoral commission that are even headed by judges and senior lawyers. So, but again, because people believe nothing will happen, there's no sanction for impunity. That is why we're in a mess with respect to election petitions.
Please, guys, educate yourself on this video. This video meant for you to be educate yourself.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Falana.
There are open your eyes.
And
open your eyes.
Some of the politicians coming forward.
Don't sleep off.
And if you go on IREV, perhaps some of those things that you see
are playing the video
of
to you to open your eyes.
Election results.
Understand what is going on in your life.
How devastating, if validated and found out to be true by our court.
Criminals.
How devastating could this be?
In our judiciary system.
This be the new tactics by the electoral, by the political
in the
class
leadership
to subvert our electoral process. Now, this is where we blame judges instead of the members of the political class. Where you fail to hold valid primaries, there is a provision under the law that whatever result, whatever elections that are based on invalid primaries or no primaries at all, will be no election. So you don't blame the courts. If a political party fails to field candidates who have emerged from valid primaries. Secondly, if politicians fail to allow the democratic process to take place. If they simply impose candidates, those candidates may have problems. Again, one issue that we discussed is that before 2010, the screening of candidates going to contest elections was the task imposed on INEC. The political class took that away from INEC, that only political parties will screen candidates. We now discover that candidates are not screened. Candidates with questionable credentials are allowed to contest elections. Now, those cases now arrive. We are now blaming judges. So we have suggested that the screening of candidates should now be the business of the political party regulatory commission that Waste Panel had recommended. That is, you unbundle INEC, you are going to have the INEC as it is, but you take the powers to prosecute electoral offender and ask the Electoral Offences Commission to do that. The political parties regulatory commission would deal with screening of candidates, registration of political parties, delineation of constituencies, and so on and so forth, so that INEC can face squarely the task of conducting election. Now, you saw what happened in Kogi, in Kogi Central, where results had been, ballot papers had been thumbprinted, right? And when they were brought, the voters protested. Now, that has nothing to do with the Independent National Electoral Commission. This was just the act of politicians who have no respect for the democratic rights of the people.
But who did them the paper in the first place?
At the end of the day, the votes were
who handled them the paper?
So what do you make of that?
Is it not
everybody
INEC?
should go to court. Again, we are tasking the
guys, our time is going up. Our time is
to
almost
determine
up.
matters they know nothing about, because they
We are
were
using
not
on extra
ground
time, please.
when these monumental, violations
The
of the
video will
electoral
stop any moment from
were
now.
committed
I'm sorry
by
about that.
well-known people, and nothing will happen to
sorry.
them. So these are the problems we have to address. Unless we can get members of the political class sanctions for impunity